want you to look at Genesis chapter 2, 18, verse 20. Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 through 20, and I'm reading from the Message. God said, it's not good for the man to be alone. I'll make him a helper, a companion. So God formed from the dirt of the ground all the animals of the field and all the birds of the air. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them. Whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. The man named the cattle, named the birds of the air, named the wild animals, but he didn't find a suitable companion. Jump to Matthew chapter 16, verse 13. When Jesus arrived in the villages of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, what are people saying about who the Son of Man is? Turn to Galatians 5:1. Christ has set us free to live a free life. So take your stand. Never again let anyone put a harness of slavery on you. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, do you know your name? If you do, they don't seem to. You may be seated. Do you know your name? If you do, they don't seem to. The creation story in the book of Genesis opens with God creating the world. And after every creative act, God says, that's good. Then God turns around. He gives Adam the power to name that which God had created. This tells us that God was so good to us that he gave us the power to name and have dominion. Is that right? God has not created any people anywhere without the power of naming themselves and things around them. Let me repeat that. God has not created any people anywhere without the power of naming themselves and things around them. Names reflect an identity, a place in time and space, a heritage and a territory. Names also mean rootage. Where did I come from? What did my foreparents do? What is my history and my family tree, and how will I continue to leave a higher standard for my family? And as is our custom at Christmas, we trace our heritage from where our entire family came from. So much that if I ask Corrine or BJ to name me some member who has passed in our family, they would be able to do that. As a race, it appears as though we have an identity crisis. I said we have an identity crisis right here in America, as if nobody knows our name. James Baldwin wrote a book called Nobody Knows My Name. Ralph Ellison in the 1940s wrote a book called The Invisible Man. Alex Haley spent over 12 years and came up with the book Roots, because he was convinced that nobody knows his name. In the 1950s, going into the 60s, we were mad and angry at the late Elijah Muhammad when he told us the names we were wearing belonged to the slave master. We actually did not know who we were. We tried to be white by conquering our hair, using Duke and stockings. Oh, don't y'all remember that? Making waves. The younger generation don't remember, but y'all remember that, don't you? Don't you remember that? Yes. And the ladies would use straightening cream and iron curls and burn their hair trying to look like white ladies' hair, hoping that they would accept us. But ask President Obama, have they accepted him? Malcolm X hinted the blind acceptance of our president's name had a lot to do with our crab mentality. You do know what the crab mentality is, huh? We don't want to see anybody make it. We always want to pull each other down. Am I right about it? We always want to pull one another down. Well, in understanding the name factor in the 60s and 70s, people changed their names. I know you young people may not remember, but I believe our generation does. Cassius Clay, the great boxer, changed his name to Muhammad. The great basketball player, Lew Alcindor, changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What these men were saying is nobody knows our name. James Brown came out with the song, said, we started wearing afros. We started holding up our fists. Oh, y'all know what I'm talking about. Jesse Jackson said, I am somebody. Adam Clayton Powell, Shirley Chisholm, and the Black Panthers, and Dr. Martin Luther King, the March on Selma and the March on Washington with the I Have a Dream speech. During this era, we must not forget there were some whites who saw the injustice, and some even gave their lives to our cause. However, I'm sad to say the Adventist church, which is supposed to have all the truth, the light, and all this, the white Adventist church did not do anything. It is interesting to note, even in this generation, ask the average black male on the street or girl on the street, what do you want to do when you get older? Majority of males will say, play football. They'll say, be a basketball player, or they'll say, be a rapper. What about saying scientist? So I can develop a cure for diabetes or Ebola. In other words, in order to really know one's name, one must become acquainted with the name of which is above all other names. At the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ indeed is Lord. Well, we've been called many names. We've been called colored, Negroes, blacks. Their favorite word is still, you know what. And to make matters worse, because the white man called us that name so much, we find ourselves calling each other the same name. But we say it's different when we say it compared to when they say it. We can't even respect our own selves. We call our beautiful black women, you know, it's in the rap songs. We call them bees and what I can't understand is our young ladies go for it. And expect to be called that just to be in the in crowd. Boys, I mean grown black men, wearing their pants so down that you can see their stanky underwear. I don't want to see your underwear. I wish somebody talked to me. We think making babies makes us a man. Making babies don't make you no man when you don't take care of what you made. I wish y'all talk to me. Daddy used to say, you need to learn how to do something even if you can't spell cat or rat. There was a time when men took care of their women. Now it appears as though it's the other way around. Oh, y'all don't want to talk to me right now. Y'all don't want to talk to me. But I got something to say. There are times when you can't find a job, but you're going to learn how to flip burgers. You're going to do something if you got a family. Can I get a witness up in here? Oh, yeah. Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourselves. Things have not changed. Right here in America, you can fight for this country, even die for this country, then turn around and be strangled to death by law enforcement officers because you are selling cigarettes on a street corner to make a living because you can't get another job. Right here in America, a black man will receive more time than a white man for the same crime. Never have you heard so much disrespect for a president than President Obama. George Bush took all kinds of trips and was never talked about. But President Obama can take a trip around the corner and they got something to say. They want to appeal Obamacare, and yet there are more poor whites using Medicare and Medicaid than anybody else. The Republicans, who, by the way, messed up the economy, won't give President Obama no credit for the economy turning around. They act as if President Obama's fault for the war. That's a lie. George Bush started the war with a lie. Nobody says that. Down in Selma, Alabama, 3 young girls died so you could vote. And some of us won't even take our behinds to vote. Y'all don't want to talk to me while I'm talking about something. The world has called us colored when we deserve to be black. The world has called us yes when there is no yes land in the world. My father said while fighting in World War II, white soldiers told the Europeans to stay away from them because they had tails. Y'all don't have to talk. Being nameless or possessing a bad name can exist. Don't forget this. Can exist for the educated as well as the uneducated. One can have a PhD and be as nameless as a rock or a tree. To be without a name is to be without historical roots. Without a heritage, without power, without a cause, without a purpose. Daddy used to say, son, you got to know where you come from in order to know where you're going. Our problem is some of us don't even know where we came from, not less know where we're going, and got the nerve to talk about, I loves you. Oh, yeah. Let me say to our young people, our next generation, you don't know nothing of colored water and white water. You don't remember none of that. All you see is a water fountain or get a water bottle. You don't know nothing of sitting on the back of a bus. You know nothing of being able to have to sleep in the street or sleep in the car. All you know is staying in the Marriott or Hampton, or the cheapest place is Hotel 6. When I was growing up, there was a time if you took a trip and it was a long trip, if you had relatives on the way, that's where you stopped. If no one lived in that direction, you slept in the car. Oh, yeah. Your dad and mother took turns staying awake to watch out while you slept. Young people, you don't know anything about what we're talking about. You don't understand when black men had to shuffle and shuffle their feet and don't look a white man in the eye. And the reason why was because they were afraid that they might get hit, killed, Can I talk while I'm talking? I'm going to do it anyhow. I must have been about, I think, 11 or 11 or 12. And my brothers, yeah, I'm going to say 11, 12, might have been 13 at the most. And we lived in Pontchartrain Park in New Orleans, Louisiana, and we went to the Ephesus Junior Academy School, and that school was downtown in New Orleans. In order to get to that school, we had to catch 4 buses. How many buses did I say? We had to catch 4 buses, and because I was the oldest, I was the one who had the money, so I would get on the bus first, then Billy, then Michael would get on the bus. Well, one time, it was so crowded that I got on the bus, Billy got on the bus, and the bus driver shut the door. Michael was out on the outside, and I said, "Hey, my brother is out there. I don't care. That's your problem." And I said, "Well, hey, I want my money back," because I didn't have no extra money. You know, when Mama bus fare was 7 cents at the time, 21 cents going, and 21 cents going back. Y'all don't have, and so I hollered to my brother. I said, "Run to the next bus stop." And Michael ran to the next bus stop and got on the bus. After that, I let them get on the bus first, and I got on the bus last. Y'all don't know what we've gone through. Y'all think everything is ice cream and cake. Y'all don't know what we've gone through. Remember one time I was on Claiborne Street, and my little brother Michael, we didn't know anything about really being prejudiced, because we wasn't bad. We wasn't at that point at that time in my parents' life. We wasn't that bad off at that time, and Michael was out there playing on Claiborne Street and bumped into a white man, and the white man slapped my little brother, and I ran up there and I kicked him, and he hit me too. Y'all don't know what we've been through. Daddy told me one time we had Lincoln Beach and Pontchartrain Beach. Pontchartrain Beach was for the white folk, and Lincoln Beach was for the black folk, and we were separate. We were separate back in those days, and because we lived out in Pontchartrain Park, Daddy would sometimes drive us over on the other side of the lake, and we would sit in the car, and we would watch the roller coaster roll up and down, go up and down, and Michael, my little brother, said to Daddy, "Daddy, how come we can't get on that roller coaster?" And Michael said to Dad, "We can't get on that roller coaster because you ain't got no money, Daddy. How come you don't have no money?" And my daddy, my father, stood up. He was so mad. He went in his pocket and he opened up his wallet. He said, "Son, I got all kind of money. You can't go there because you black." Y'all just don't remember. Y'all just don't know. And we have worked hard, and here our young people, they don't seem to appreciate what we have done in times past. Don't understand what we've gone through. Just throw things away. I told my kids all the time, they know what I say. I work like a dog. They laughing now. They know what I'm saying. But it's because there is something in all of us. I don't care where you came from. Remember your heritage and remember what you need to do, because you are somebody. You are somebody. Learn how to understand. Go to school. If you can't get if you don't have good education, so what? Get a trade. My daddy did not even get a high school education. But when he worked at Avondale, he became the first black ship fitter in a white shipyard. And when things went wrong in certain areas, they called on a black man. They called on my father. Does not matter who you are, what you are. Do something in life. Quit acting like all you got to do is sell drugs and all these kind of things and do this and do that. Get off your rusty behind. Your sons look up to everything that we've done in life. Well, it's just been about 5 years ago. Y'all know I have a Corvette. Crystal wanted to drive the car. And so I said, okay. Took Crystal out, because all the kids learn how to drive on stick shifts. Crystal, I'm sitting next to the car, next to Crystal, and Crystal started driving. She said, oh, Daddy, this car is fast. I said, I know it is, baby. It's just slow down. And she was having a good time, and all of a sudden behind us there was a policeman. Policeman pulled us on the side. And I'm talking about 5 or 10 years ago. I ain't talking about in 1960. I'm talking about 5 or 10 years ago. Policeman walked up to the car, say, girl. That's what he called my daughter. Girl, what you doing driving this car? And you know how fast you're driving this car? I said, mister, that's my daughter driving this car. He said, do you own this car? I said, why you think I'm in it? Well, she was switching lanes and didn't put on the signal light. Said, okay, well, write the ticket. He wrote the ticket. I said, sir, I need your badge number. Got his badge number, and I called Judge Davis. Y'all don't know who Judge Davis is, but Judge Davis was the first black judge in Fort Worth, Texas. Called Judge Davis, and I told Judge Davis what happened. Judge Davis would tell you he got fired. There are times when sometimes you talk, sometimes you don't say nothing. You can have the upper hand and don't even say a word. In closing, old preacher went to a college to deliver a baccalaureate sermon. After finishing his message, he hung around to speak to a few of the graduates. He picked out a young man whose name was Paul. His first question to Paul was, what are your plans for the future? Paul replied, I immediately want to go to law school. What then? Inquired the preacher. Paul responded, I plan to get married and start a family and then get myself securely established in law practice. What then? Said the preacher. Paul responded, I plan to make lots of money from my law practice so I can retire early, then travel all over the world, something I've always wanted to do. Is that all? Paul added. The preacher seemed to be annoyed at this aspiring college graduate. He asked Paul again. He says, is that all? The old preacher said, young man, your plans are far too small. They extend only 75 or 100 years at most. You must make your plans big enough to include God and large enough to include eternity. Too many of us are messing with plans that are big in quantity but small in quality. Plans that move on the horizontal plane of time rather than on the vertical planes of eternity. But I've made up my mind. I'm going to make it regardless to what happens in this life. I said I made up my mind that I'm going to make it. I don't care what nobody says. I've made up in my mind because I'm a black man, and it doesn't matter what you think. I am somebody. Is there anybody in here who believes that they are somebody? If you're somebody, stand up and get on your feet because you know you're God's child. You have a promise. You know who you are.